Welcome to summertime in Arizona. Down here in the Valley of the Sun, it is 8:30 at night, 106 degrees. Topped out at 118 today, and I heard they were canceling flights. So out here in Arizona, if you're going to be riding through the summertime, you need to get yourself a camel pack. Make sure you got enough water with you. Don't stay out there too long either, because that sun is brutal. I had to stop wearing fingerless gloves during the summertime because it was pretty bad. Felt like my fingernails were melting off. It was that bad. So let's get right into it. Went out to interview number 3 today. Got there about 15 minutes early because didn't want any surprises. So I waited around until my interview time. So the HR manager comes out, introduces herself, and we go back to the manager's office. And so the HR manager goes through the usual rundown of your work experience and what you did here and there, and then she asks me why I was terminated. And you know, it always kind of makes me laugh whenever somebody asks me that, whether I'm in an interview or not, because the reason why I was terminated is not the reason that the company gave me, and I know this. So I tell the HR manager that the company was restructuring and my position was eliminated. So she didn't buy that, and I can't blame her because even I know it's BS. So she kind of gets a little huffy, and I said, yeah, I don't believe that either. I know the reason why I was terminated, but I'm under contract to not talk about it. So the reason they gave was position eliminated after restructuring decisions. And she asks me again, and I told her the same thing. And then she asks me how many other people were let go. And that's not really something that my previous employer was going to tell me, and I told her that. And she gets huffy again. So already she thinks I'm full of BS. Probably already labeled me as a troublemaker, but you know, I can't talk about it other than company restructuring. I was let go, and that's the end of the story. So then she asks me a third time, what's the real reason why I was let go? So I cannot elaborate on that anymore, and she just wasn't buying it. So that was the first part of the interview, and the HR manager was already copping an attitude with me. And after reading some of the reviews on Glassdoor, I was kind of expecting it, and one of the interviews that are up there on Glassdoor had specifically said that the HR manager has an attitude problem. So on to phase 2, where they start asking me what's my strengths, what's my weaknesses, and why I think I would be a good fit for that position. They were starting to ask me questions about my most recent job, and you know, once again I told them I'm under contract, I can't talk about it. So I could tell that she was getting an attitude about it, and I wanted this interview to be over. Like 5 minutes into it, I wanted it to be over, just because of the attitude and the way they presented themselves. I mean, the purchasing manager wasn't bad, but Man, that HR, holy hell. But whatever. So, part 3. Do I have any questions for them? So I asked them, give me a rundown of a typical day in this position that you're hiring for. And the HR manager snapped at me, weren't you given the details? And I said I was given an overview, but what would a day in the life be like for me if I were to accept an offer? And once again, the HR manager got snippy and told me that it was up to them whether or not they were going to make an offer. So I just kind of smiled and nodded. Okay, I'm not gonna do anything to get abrasive here, so I'll let that slide. I'm not gonna tell me what a day in the life is like. So she asks me what details I had again, and I says, well, I've ran over the overview, the job description, but what I want to know is what kind of workload is it? Is it going to be warehouse work? Because inventory control was on the job description. And I asked, is it going to be primarily warehouse or is it going to be primarily purchasing? And neither one of them would give me the details on it. So they kept referring to me not researching the company or the position. And they asked me if I did any research on the company, and I says, well, I tried to. I went to your guys' website and tried looking up information, but your website is a product page, and that's it. There's no company overview. There is no company mission statement. There is no anything other than here's the product, buy it. And once again, the HR manager was getting pissy about it, implying that it was my fault that I couldn't find information about the company. I almost told him that, yeah, I did. I looked on Glassdoor, and there's a couple reviews on there that say the HR manager has got an attitude. And that she likes to fire people right before their probation period ends. But I didn't, just because that's my information. They don't need to know that I know that. So I started asking about the company culture, and was shut down about that as well. They would not tell me anything about the company culture. They would not tell me anything about how many people worked in the department. They'd tell me only that they worked 2 shifts, and sometimes the purchasing department would be required to work a second shift, or part of a second shift. Which is fine, I don't mind doing that, but being a part of that shit, man, I tell you what, it is still hot as balls out here. So they wouldn't tell me anything about the company culture. So I'm guessing that a company doesn't have a culture. They wouldn't tell me anything about how big the team was that I'd be working with. Just kept asking if I had the specific details of the position. I'm like, well, it's a no-win situation for myself at that point. I mean, I could tell that the HR manager had made up her mind that I was not the candidate. Now, the purchasing manager, on the other hand, who knows? She was just kind of smile and wave. And then we come to the point where I start asking about what kind of benefits they offer. And that was when the fangs came out. And I was told that benefits will not be discussed until an offer is made. And I just smiled and nodded, you know, rather than give her a dose of her own attitude. Said, okay, I've heard of companies doing that. And got a dirty look out of HR after I said that. So then she asks me, do you have any other questions for us? And I said, nope. Closed my portfolio and stood up and I said, I think we're done here. Thank you for your time. So that was the end of interview number 3. So that's my story, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And I am gonna get this helmet off for a few minutes. Holy hell, this thing is hot. 9:21. Come on, meow. 103. Hot damn, kids.